You didn't fail your diet because you lacked discipline. You returned to the same body because you never left the identity that created it. Every time you tried to change, something invisible pulled you back. Not hunger, not laziness, recognition. Your brain recognized who you believe you are and guided you back to what feels familiar. Because the body doesn't follow plans. The body follows identity. And until identity changes, no transformation lasts. What no one explained to you is that before every decision, before every food choice, before every "I'll start tomorrow," there is a silent narrative running inside you, and that narrative decides everything. Before you even wake up, something inside you has already decided how the day will end. Not consciously and not logically. It's an old voice and familiar, intimate. It doesn't shout it, it whispers, and that is why you obey. This is your inner narrative, the silent author of your life. It determines whether you rise with presence or shrink before the day even begins. Whether you continue or collapse back into what you know. Here is the truth that changes everything. You don't act according to what you want. You act according to who you believe you are. If, deep inside, the story says, "I always fail," then every choice you make will quietly work to prove that story true. Even when you want change, even when you promise yourself this time is different. Because this narrative is not a thought. It's a script, written slowly, by comments that stayed, by comparisons you absorbed, by moments of shame you never questioned, by disappointments you internalized as identity. Without realizing it, that script became direction. You don't choose your day. The narrative does. You don't decide your reactions. The narrative decides, especially with food, especially with your body, especially when you try to move forward and feel something pulling you back. Listen to the thoughts that appear. When no one is listening, why even try? I always give up. I never stick to anything. I sabotage myself. I'm not disciplined. I always lose weight and gain it back. In the end, I ruin everything. These are not innocent thoughts. They are identity statements. When you say, "I sabotage myself," you're not describing behavior. You're defining who you are. And the brain's job is to keep your identity consistent, so it works relentlessly to make sure your actions match your self-image, even when that image hurts you. That's why cravings appear suddenly, why motivation fades without explanation, why "just today" sounds reasonable. Not because you're weak, but because your brain is protecting the familiar. Familiar feels safe, even when it keeps you stuck. This is not a lack of willpower. This is neurobiology following an old narrative. And the most painful part? Most women believe their struggle comes from poor discipline. But the truth is softer and much more human. They are living out a story they never consciously chose. Maybe you were labeled early, messy, lazy, too emotional, unfocused. Maybe someone laughed when you tried. Maybe one failure became a prophecy. Over time, that story turned into a cage, so familiar. You stopped noticing the bars. From inside it, you make decisions, what to eat, when to stop, when to give up. The narrative drives. You follow until the moment you see it, the moment you realize this story is not who you are, only who you learned to be. And when the story shifts, identity shifts, behavior follows, and finally, the body responds. So change doesn't feel hard because you believe it's hard to lose weight and keep it off. It feels hard because it threatens the identity your brain knows. Identity isn't a concept. It's a neural pattern, an emotional chemistry, a familiar internal environment, even when that environment is painful. To the brain, sameness equals safety. So when you try to become someone new, healthier, calmer, more consistent, more confident, an internal conflict begins. This is identity conflict. And it's not weakness, it's survival. Your nervous system whispers, "This isn't you. This is unfamiliar. Go back." And what you call self-sabotage is often self-protection. This conflict lives below awareness. You wake up motivated, committed, excited, and hours later, resistance, cravings, anxiety, emotional hunger, you blame yourself. But what's happening is predictable. Your brain is pulling you back to the emotional frequency of your old identity, if you've practiced being the woman who never finishes, the one who struggles with food, the one who always gains it back. Acting differently creates friction, not failure. Friction, a silent tug of war between who you've been rehearsing for years and who you're becoming now. And the old identity feels stronger because it has repetition behind it. Memory, emotion, imagination, all working together to restore the past. That's why it feels like progress, then collapse. You're not fighting habits. You're reorganizing identity, and that is deep work. But here's the shift. Resistance is not a sign to stop. It's a sign of rewiring. Discomfort is not danger. It's evidence of transformation. You're not failing. You're shedding. You're not weak. You're evolving. And the identity that supports the body you want doesn't emerge from force. It emerges from choosing the unfamiliar again and again until it becomes home.